picture here that I have is a picture that was painted by the painter Edward Hicks in the 1800s. He is best known because this is not the only peaceable picture that he painted over the years. There are 62 that exist. The paintings represent a messianic prophecy as prescribed in the book of Isaiah. As we know from the passage that was read this morning from Robin, verse 6 says, "The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard or the lion shall lie down with the kid or the lamb, and the goat and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them." The genesis behind this picture was that during the 1820s, a severe separation occurred within the Society of Friends, which is also called the Quakers. In this version of Hicks' favorite motif, the split is represented by, if you can look very closely, a shattered tree trunk, and the desire for peace between the factions by the menagerie of discordant beasts lying down in perfect harmony. The lion and his companion, the ox, were for Hicks symbols of redemption. To begin my sermon, I have to go back to around 800 BC, or in biblical time, BCE, which is before the Common Era. You can ask me about that later. But around that time, it was a very tumultuous time in the land of Israel. As had been for ages, there was always kingdoms trying to conquer other kingdoms, and during this time in the life of Judah, of which Jerusalem existed, another kingdom was trying to conquer Judah. That kingdom, the kingdom of Assyria, was bearing down. It was also known as the northern kingdom, and it was bearing down upon the people of Judah, and they did not know what was going to happen. And it was in that atmosphere that the prophet Isaiah spoke these words that we have today. For what Isaiah was saying in these words were that he hoped for a time when those that were warring against one another would come together. And in the words of another prophet, lay down their swords, beat their swords into plowshares, so that one day people could live in peace. The writer goes on and talks about a time when this new place, there will neither be destruction or hurt on this holiest of mountains. For the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. It's funny how we read those words, and it's funny how we study history, and we still have not achieved that place upon the holy mountain. For throughout the centuries and centuries that this earth has existed, there has always been wars and rumors of war. There have always been people taking up sword against other people. And yet, in the midst of this, we have this seemingly almost unfathomable hope that one day we can see peace in our time. But I believe it is more than just that that is ailing the human race. And that is that there have always been consternation within our soul, a hope for a place that we could achieve that love of God, and never really coming to that place. And then we come to these modern times. These times in which we as a human race think that we're so sophisticated. We as a human race think that we have achieved some major goals in the history of the world. We have invented such highly technological things. People have come forth who were intellectual thinkers that have kind of set the pace of philosophical thought in the world. There are others that are famous in this world for various things, and we think that we have achieved some semblance of that world that Isaiah so longed for, and yet we see so many things swirling around us, even in our own nation. We see tribalism happening in our midst. We have people aligning to one political party or another political party, and our tribes are warring against one another. We have leaders in our country that are more concerned about political power than being the representative of the people that elected them. We have others in business and in other aspects of life that think that the most powerful thing that you can have in your life is money, because money influences things. And so we sit as people of faith, seemingly losing hope in what is before us. Well, I am here to tell you today that if there is one thing that the gospel tells us, is that we can never lose hope. If there is one thing that Jesus teaches us, is that the power of love is more powerful than any other force in the universe. And so, dear friends, with that in mind, I truly believe that that power of love can prevail. I believe that that power can prevail in certain ways. That when a person who says that they have been sexually assaulted, that when that person says that they are believed. When a person of color can finally go out into the world and not be judged by their color, but by the content of their character. When people who want to love genuinely another human being, when those people will not be judged by who they love, but by the love that they give to their partners and everyone, that is what I conceive of as a peaceable kingdom. When I see our political leaders weld the weapons of destruction against other countries only because they have a philosophical difference with them. That peaceable kingdom will dictate one day that no matter what religion you are, what country you live in, what society you live in, as long as we strive to be peaceful people together, that is what the peaceable kingdom is hoped for here on earth. Dear friends, as much as I want to lose hope, I know that what God is telling me is that I must be rooted in one thing and one thing only. And that is the love that God has given me, that I need to give to other people who are hurting, who are broken, who are questioning. God has given me the power to love and to do my small part in the world to bring about a world based on justice and mercy. And dear friends, I am here to tell you today that wherever you sit in this congregation and wherever you go, God has placed a call upon your heart as well. And that is to live for that vision of the peaceable kingdom, to live that power of love and justice and mercy in the world. And it is placed on each and every one of you. And so we must all together do our part to live in our parts of the world and to live according to God's mercy and love and justice. In a few moments, we have 4 people who will be taking a very sacred vow before you, this congregation. A vow that says that they will reject the spiritual forces of wickedness in the world. A vow that says that they will step forward and they want to do everything they can to live according to God's love in their lives. That is a sacred vow. And that is a vow that we should all take in our lives over and over again. Amen and amen.